There is a silence that exists deep beneath the earth. It is a heavy, pressurized silence, one that has remained undisturbed for millions upon millions of years. In the world of Pokémon, where vibrant life teems in every grassy patch, every rushing river, and every bustling city, it is easy to forget what lies beneath our feet. We are so often focused on the journey ahead, on the next gym badge, the next capture, the next challenge, that we rarely stop to consider the history written in the stone itself. But if you were to take a pickaxe to the walls of Mount Moon, or sift through the shifting sands of the desert resort in Unova, or chip away at the frozen cliff sides of the Crown Tundra, you would find that the Earth remembers. But before we begin tonight's journey into Pokémon lore, I want to welcome back those of you who have made stellar sleep a part of your nightly routine. We're starting something new to celebrate your commitment to rest, the sleep streak. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, comment below with how many days in a row you've joined us. If it's your first night, just comment day 1, and I'll start keeping track of our community's progress, right there with you. Now back to the video. Tonight, we're going to listen to those memories. We are going to leave the modern world behind. We will step away from the bright lights of the Pokémon League stadiums and the hum of the healing machines. We are going to descend into the quiet, cool darkness of the past. We are embarking on a journey through the geological history of the Pokémon world, tracing the lineage of creatures that ruled the land, the sea, and the sky long before humanity ever arrived to catalogue them. This is a story of survival, of extinction, and ultimately of resurrection. It is a strange and beautiful concept, unique to this world we love so much. In our own reality, fossils are static things. They are mineralized echoes of the dead, bones turned to rock, preserved in museums as silent testaments to what once was. But in the Pokémon world, a fossil is not an ending. It is a pause. It is a suspended breath, waiting for the right scientific hand to wake it up. It is a dormant seed of DNA, locked inside a shell, a claw, or a piece of amber, waiting for the warmth of a machine to turn back the clock. Think about the implications of that for a moment. Imagine the atmosphere of the Cinnabar Island laboratory in the late 1990s. Picture the humidity of the volcanic island, the smell of salt spray and sulfur. Inside the lab, the air is sterile and cool. Scientists in white coats hover over a machine that hums with a low rhythmic vibration. They place a heavy, spiral-shaped rock into the chamber. It looks like nothing more than a paperweight, a curio found by a trainer in a dark cave, but they know better. They initiate the sequence. The hum grows louder, energy pulses through the stone, and then the impossible happens. The stone softens, it shifts, colour returns to a surface that has been grey for 100 million years. And suddenly there is movement. A tentacle twitches, a beak snaps, an eye, ancient and confused, blinks open to see a world that has moved on without it. This process, this miracle of bringing the prehistoric back to the present, is the thread that will guide us through the next few hours. We are going to explore the entire history of Pokémon fossils. We will examine every single ancient creature, from the humble bottom-feeding invertebrates of the Cambrian-inspired eras to the terrifying titanic lizards that shook the ground in the Cretaceous equivalents. We will look at the biology of these creatures, the environments they lived in, and the specific real-world paleontological inspirations that guided their designs. But we will not just list them. We will immerse ourselves in their eras. We will try to understand what the oceans of the Kanto region looked like, when the Omastar were the apex predators, their spiked shells spiraling through the water like living missiles. We will the skies of the ancient world darkened by the leathery wings of Aerodactyl, a creature so ferocious that its very name strikes fear into the hearts of modern Pokémon. We will travel to the primordial jungles of Hoenn, where giant lilies walked on the seafloor and armoured bugs swam through the murky depths. We will dig into the iron-rich soil of Sinnoh to find the dinosaurs that head-butted trees and shielded their young from predators. We will piece together the mismatched, tragic abominations of the Galar region and uncover the paradoxes of Paldea. Why do we find these ancient creatures so fascinating? Perhaps it is because they represent a time of raw, untamed power. The modern Pokémon we know, the Pikachu, the Eevee, the Bulbasaur, they have evolved alongside humans. They are, in many ways, adapted to a world we share. But the fossil Pokémon, they are from a time before us. They are wild in a way that modern Pokémon are not. They are jagged, armoured, sharp, and primal. When a trainer sends out a Kabutops or a Tyrantrum, they are not just sending out a battler, they are unleashing a living relic. They are commanding a ghost that has refused to stay dead. As we settle in for this long exploration, I want you to relax. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Imagine you're sitting in a quiet, dusty library in the back of the Pewter City Museum. The lights are dimmed. Outside, a gentle rain is falling, tapping against the glass. You're surrounded by shelves of old books and display cases filled with geodes and rare stones. On the table in front of you is a map of the world, marked with excavation sites. We have a lot of ground to cover, spanning billions of years of history and over 2 decades of game lore. We will begin our story not with the Pokémon themselves, but with the stone, the item, the object. In the earliest days of our adventure, in the games Red and Blue, the choice of a fossil was one of the first permanent decisions a player had to make. Do you take the Helix fossil or the Dome fossil? It felt weighty, it felt significant. You were a child, standing in a cave, being offered a piece of history by a frantic super nerd who had been guarding these treasures with his life. You didn't know what they would become, you just knew that they were important. That choice, that binary split, sparked a fascination that has lasted for generations. But the lore goes much deeper than just a choice in a video game. We need to understand the timeline. The Pokémon world has a prehistory that mirrors our own, but with fantastic twists. We know from Pokédex entries and in-game libraries that the world was once covered by oceans. We know that massive geographical shifts raised mountains like Mount Coronet and sank continents. We know that a great extinction event occurred, wiping out these majestic beasts and leaving only their mineralized remains behind. Was it a meteor? Was it a change in climate? Was it the awakening of a legendary titan like Regigigas moving the continents? Or the chaotic weather brought by Groudon and Kyogre? We will explore these theories as we go. And we must also talk about the science. The resurrection process is a technological marvel that defines the relationship between nature and humanity in the Pokémon world. It started on Cinnabar Island, a place of fire and intellect. It was there that the first successful regeneration took place. But the technology spread. It moved to the Devon Corporation in Rustboro City, a company dedicated to mining and minerals. It travelled to the Mining Museum in Oreburgh City, where coal miners unearthed ancient skulls and shields. It eventually reached the chilling tundra of the Galar region, where the science took a strange and controversial turn. Throughout this video, we will treat these creatures with the respect they deserve. We are not just looking at stats and movesets. We are looking at them as living, breathing animals that once had complex behaviours, ecosystems, and rivalries. We will discuss the predator-prey relationship between the Caracosta and the Archon. We will analyse the hunting patterns of the Rampados. We will look at the tragic existence of the mismatched fossils in Galar and ask what it means to be born into a body that never existed in nature. This is lore for sleep, which means we are in no rush. We have the luxury of time. We can pause to admire the texture of a rock. We can take a moment to appreciate the sound of the wind howling through a canyon where ancient dragons once flew. We can let the details wash over us. Imagine the sheer age of the old amber, a piece of golden hardened tree resin warm to the touch. Inside, trapped in a golden prison, is a single mosquito, or perhaps a strand of DNA perfectly preserved. It has been waiting there since the age of dinosaurs. It has survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and the shifting of tectonic plates. It is a time capsule. And when we unlock it, we unleash the Aerodactyl. Just picture that creature for a moment. The serrated teeth, the cry that sounds like tearing metal. It was the king of the skies. When it flew, it blocked out the sun. And now, thanks to human curiosity, it flies again. But for every king of the sky, there is a bottom feeder of the ocean. We will spend time with the lilipe and the cradley, the ancient sea lilies that swayed in the currents of a warm, tropical ocean hundreds of millions of years ago. They are strange alien-looking things, blurring the line between plant and animal. They remind us that life in the Pokémon world takes many forms, some of which are vastly different from the mammals and birds on Route 1. These ancient invertebrates tell a story of a slower, quieter world, where survival meant anchoring yourself to a rock and waiting for food to come to you. As we move through the generations, you will notice a pattern. The fossils mirror the complexity of the games themselves. In the beginning, in Kanto, the designs were simple, iconic, drawing from the most recognizable, real-world fossils: the ammonite, the trilobite, the pterosaur. As we moved to Hun, the inspirations became more niche, diving into the Cambrian explosion with the claw fossil and the root fossil. Sinnoh brought us the heavy hitters, the dinosaurs that every child recognizes, the Pachycephalosaurus and the Ceratopsian. Unova introduced the concept of the transitional fossil, the link between bird and reptile, and the ancient turtle. Kalos took a break, letting us appreciate what we had, before Alola and Gala turned the concept on its head. We will talk about the geography of these discoveries. Why are fossils found where they are? Why is Matmoon such a hotspot? It implies that Matmoon was once underwater, or perhaps the site of a mass dying event where sediment covered the bodies quickly. Why are fossils found in the glittering caves of Kalos? Why do we find them in the dusty wild area of Galar? The placement of these items tells a geological story of the regions. It tells us that the map we look at today is not the map that existed then. The grand underground of Sinnoh is a labyrinth of secrets, a subterranean world that has preserved the Cretaceous period in a way the surface never could. And we cannot ignore the human element. The scientists, the fossil maniacs, the hikers, the trainers. There is a certain type of person in the Pokémon world who dedicates their life to the past. Think of the super nerd in Matmoon, guarding his discovery from Team Rocket. Think of Rourke, the gym leader of Orbur, who balances his duties as a leader with his passion for mining and excavation. Think of the erratic, somewhat unethical researchers in the Galar region who slap together mismatched parts in the name of science. These characters are our window into the lore. They are the ones who bridge the gap between the stone and the living creature. We will also touch upon the anime, where these creatures are often portrayed as powerful, uncontrollable forces. Remember the episode where Ash and his friends are trapped in a canyon with resurrected prehistoric Pokémon? The sense of danger was palpable. These were not domesticated pets. They were monsters in the truest sense. They were hungry, they were confused, and they were powerful. It reinforces the idea that by reviving them, we are meddling with forces we don't fully understand. But mostly this is a journey of imagination. I want you to the layers of the earth. Picture the topsoil, the grass, the roots of trees. Go deeper, past the clay, past the gravel, down into the bedrock, down into the strata where the pressure is immense. There, encased in the dark, lie the secrets, the helix, the dome, the root, the claw, the skull, the armor, the cover, the plume, the jaw, the sail. These are the keys to the past. We're going to pick up each key, one by one, and unlock the door. So get comfortable, pull the blanket up a little higher, Let the worries of your day fade away, just as the ancient world faded away millions of years ago. We are going to go back to the beginning, before the Pokédex, before the gym challenge, before humans walked the earth. We are going back to the time of giants. Our journey begins, as most Pokémon journeys do, in the Kanto region, but not the Kanto of Pallet Town and Viridian City. We are going to a Kanto of deep prehistoric oceans and smoking volcanoes. We are going to the site of the first great discovery. The first chapter of our history is written in the spiral shell of a creature that has become a god in internet culture, and the flat, armoured back of a predator that scuttled across the ocean floor. We are starting with the original binary choice, the helix and the dome. Let us drift back to the year 1996. The Game Boy screen is green and monochromatic. You are standing in the dark of Met Moon. A Team Rocket grunt has just been defeated, and there, lying on the ground, are two fossils. You can only take one. This moment, this singular choice, is where the modern history of paleontology in the Pokémon world begins. But to understand the helix and the dome, we have to understand the creatures inside them. Omanite and Kabuto. Omanite, the spiral Pokémon. It is a creature of elegance and geometry. Its shell is a perfect logarithmic spiral, a shape found throughout nature, from galaxies to sunflowers. In the ancient oceans, this shell was its home, its shield, and its buoyancy tank. By regulating the gas inside the chambers of its shell, the Omanite could rise and sink through the water column with silent grace. It was a master of buoyancy control long before humans invented the submarine. Imagine a school of Omanite drifting through a sun-dappled prehistoric sea. Their tentacles trail below them, searching for prey. They are not fast, but they don't need to be. They are armoured. They are numerous. They are the ammonites of this world, a group of cephalopods that were so successful in our real world that they survived for over 300 million years. And then there is Kabuto, the shellfish Pokémon. If Omanite is the graceful drifter, Kabuto is the tank. It is a bottom dweller, a creature of the sand and the shadows. Its design is clearly inspired by the trilobite, perhaps the most famous of all fossilized arthropods. But Kabuto also shares traits with the horseshoe crab, a living fossil in our own world. It has a hard, brown, dome-shaped shell that protects its soft body. It has glowing red eyes that peer out from the darkness of its armour. Kabuto is a survivor. The Pokédex tells us that on rare occasions, living Kabuto have been found, hiding in the deep, dark corners of the ocean, unchanged for millions of years. This suggests that while Omanite may have gone fully extinct, Kabuto clung to existence by a thread, hiding in the abyss, waiting for a time when it could rise again. These two Pokémon represent two different strategies of survival. The Omanite relied on the open water, on the ability to float and swim. The Kabuto relied on the floor, on armour, on huddling against the earth. And yet both of them ended up in the same place, fossilized in the rock of Met Moon. Why Met Moon? Geologically, mountains are often formed by the collision of tectonic plates, pushing the seabed up into the sky. The fact that we find marine fossils high in the mountains of Kanto tells us that the landscape has changed drastically. Mist Moon was once the bottom of the sea. The Clefairy that dance there now under the moon are dancing on the graves of ancient sea creatures. But finding the fossil is only half the story. The true magic happens on Cinnabar Island. Cinnabar is a place of extremes. It is an active volcano. The ground is hot. The air is thick. It is a place of destruction, but also of creation. It is fitting that the technology to revive the dead was pioneered here. Fire represents energy, transformation, and rebirth. The Cinnabar Lab is a stark contrast to the natural chaos outside. It is a place of order, of computers, of genetic sequencing. When you hand that helix fossil to the scientist, you're participating in a miracle. The machine hums, the data is extracted, The gaps in the DNA are filled, perhaps with the DNA of modern Pokémon, much like the frogs in Jurassic Park. And then, the Omanite is reformed. But is it the same? Is the Omanite you receive at level 30 the exact same creature that died millions of years ago? Or is it a copy, a clone, a new being with old memories? The games don't answer this question, but it hangs in the air. When you look into the eyes of your revived Pokémon, you're looking at a creature that has skipped millions of years of history. It has no parents, it has no peers, it only has you. This bond between the trainer and the fossil Pokémon is unique. You are its guide to the future. You are the one who shows it a world of steel and glass, of Pokéballs and potions, and in return, it lends you the strength of the past. As the Omanite grows, it evolves into Omastar. The shell becomes spiky, dangerous. Its tentacles become powerful enough to crush rock. It becomes a predator of terrifying efficiency. The beak of an Omastar is said to be able to crack the shell of a Shelder with ease. In the ancient world, the Omastar was a king, but the Pokédex adds a tragic note. It suggests that Omastar went extinct because its shell became too heavy. It became too specialized, too slow to catch prey in a changing world. It is a lesson in evolution. Sometimes the very things that make you strong can eventually lead to your downfall. And Kabuto? It evolves into Kabutops. The dome vanishes, replaced by a sleek bipedal form. It gains scythes for arms. It becomes the shellfish Pokémon no longer. It becomes a hunter. Kabutops is designed for speed and violence. It is said to swim at incredible speeds, slicing its prey apart before draining their fluids. It is a gruesome image, a reminder that the ancient world was a brutal place. Kabutops is often compared to the Eurypterids, the sea scorpions of our past, creatures that were the stuff of nightmares. But Kanto had one more secret, one more fossil that wasn't a shell or a dome. It was a piece of amber. Old amber. It sounds dignified, doesn't it? It is the hardened resin of a prehistoric tree, and inside it the genetic material of the Skylord. Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is different. It is not a water type. It is rock and flying. It represents the domain of the air. In the Generation 1 games, getting an Aerodactyl felt like a secret. You had to go to the back of the Pewter Museum. You had to get the HM for cut. You had to backtrack. It was a reward for the curious, and the reward was a monster. Aerodactyl is fast, it is aggressive. Its design is pure pterosaur, with a jagged jaw and a pointed tail. The Pokédex tells us that it flew through the ancient skies while crying high-pitched cries. It was the apex predator of the air. When it was revived, it brought with it the ferocity of the dinosaur age. Some Pokédex entries in later generations, specifically in the Mega Evolution lore, suggest that the Aerodactyl we revive is actually incomplete, that the rocks covering its body are a result of the imperfect revival process, and that its true form, its mega form, is what it really looked like. This adds another layer to the tragedy of fossils. Even with our best science, can we ever truly bring them back exactly as they were? Or are we always creating a slightly altered version, a rock-type approximation of a biological reality? These three, Omanite, Kabuto, Aerodactyl, set the stage. They establish the rules. Fossils are rock types. They are revived in a lab. They are powerful. They are ancient. But as the world of Pokémon expanded, so did the fossil record. As we moved into the new millennium and the Game Boy Advance era, the developers at Game Freak decided to look deeper into the history of life. They moved away from the standard dinosaur tropes and looked at the weird, the wonderful, and the alien life of the Cambrian explosion. Welcome to the Hoenn region, a land of tropical islands, vast oceans, and a very different kind of ancient history. In Hoenn, the revival process moved from the academic seclusion of Cinnabar to the corporate powerhouse of the Devon Corporation. This signals a shift in the world. Fossil revival was no longer just a scientific curiosity, it was an industry. Devon Corp, with its focus on steel, mining and energy, saw the potential in these ancient stones, and the stones they found were strange. The root fossil and the claw fossil. The root fossil gives us Lileep. At first glance, Lileep looks like a plant. It has petals, it is anchored to the ground. But it is a rock grass type, a unique combination. Lileep is based on the crinoid or sea lily. In our world, crinoids are animals related to starfish and urchins that look like flowers. They have been around for nearly 500 million years. Lileep is a fascinating creature because it represents a stationary predator. It didn't hunt, it waited. It waved its tentacle-like petals in the water, catching microscopic prey. It speaks to a time of patience. When it evolves into Cradley, it becomes a fortress. It can survive in the harshest acids. It anchors itself so firmly that nothing can move it. Cradley is an unmovable object in a world of unstoppable forces. Then there is the claw fossil, Anorith. Anorith is, simply put, one of the most important designs in Pokémon fossil history because it pays homage to. For those who love paleontology, is a celebrity. It was the apex predator of the Cambrian seas, a strange shrimp-like creature with two grasping appendages near its mouth. It was an alien on Earth. Anorith captures this perfectly. The large eyes on the sides of its head. The feather-like swimming flaps. The two claws. It is an old shrimp. It tells us that the Pokémon world went through its own Cambrian explosion, a time of rapid evolutionary experimentation where body plans were wild and varied. When Anorith evolves into Armaldo, it stands up. It becomes a bipedal armoured warrior. It retains the swimming plates but gains thick blue plating. Armaldo is described as living on land by the water's edge, diving in to hunt. It represents the transition of life from the sea to the land, one of the most significant moments in evolutionary history. The Hoenn fossils add texture to the world. They aren't just monsters, they are biological niches filled by specific designs. They make the ecosystem feel complete, but the timeline marches on, and eventually, we arrive at the generation that gave the fans what they had been asking for since the beginning. The dinosaurs, the true, heavy, reptilian giants. Generation 4. Sinnoh. Sinnoh is a region steeped in mythology. It is the land of creation, of time and space, and deep beneath its surface lies the underground. A vast network of tunnels where trainers could dig into the walls. And what did they find? The skull fossil and the armor fossil. Cranidos and Shieldon. This was a return to the rivalry dynamic of Kanto. Offense versus defense, the spear versus the shield. Cranidos is a Pachycephalosaurus, a thick-headed lizard. It is pure aggression. It has one of the highest attack stats of any non-evolved Pokémon. It doesn't think, it smashes. Its brain is small, protected by a dome of solid bone. It lived in jungles of head-butting trees to knock down berries and head-butting rivals to assert dominance. When it evolves into Rampardos, it becomes a wrecking ball. The spikes, the red eyes, the sheer mass of its skull. Rampardos is a creature built for one thing: impact. Its Pokédex entries are brutal, talking about how its brain was so small because the skull was so thick, and how it would destroy anything in its path. On the other side, we have Shieldon, a small flat-faced ceratopsian. It is the wall. It lived in the same era as Cranidos, likely evolving its shield specifically to survive the headbutts of its rival. Shieldon is protective. It polished its face against tree trunks. When it evolves into Bastiodon, it becomes a living fortress. Its face is a castle wall. It blocked attacks. It protected its young. The Sinnoh fossils ground the Pokémon world in the Cretaceous period. They give us that classic dinosaur feel. Walking into the Auberg Mining Museum and reviving a Cranidos felt like walking into Jurassic Park. We have travelled from the spiral shells of Kanto to the sea lilies of Hoenn and the bone-headed giants of Sinnoh. We've seen how the developers mirrored our own understanding of natural history. But the journey is far from over. We still have to visit the Unova region, where birds and turtles bridge the gap between eras. We have to look at the Kalos region, which gave us the king of all dinosaurs, the Tyrantrum. We have to discuss the tropical ancient world of Alola, and we have to face the strange stitched-together reality of Galar and the time-warped paradoxes of Paldea. The earth is deep, and its secrets are many. The silence of the cave is waiting for us. The hum of the revival machine is warming up. So take a deep breath. Let the darkness of the history envelop you. We are about to start the excavation. Pokémon never truly die, or so we believed. In a world where revived crystals pull fallen companions back from the brink, where ghost types haunt eternally and legendaries defy the ages, extinction feels like a myth from another reality. Yet beneath the surface, in layers of stone etched by forgotten cataclysms, lie the bones of beasts that once roamed. They perished, vanished, turned to fossils. This is the paradox at the heart of it all. A universe brimming with magic, where creatures command storms and reshape mountains, still bows to death's finality. Consider the evidence. Helix fossils, curled like ancient sentinels. Dome fossils, armoured against eons. Old amber trapping a pterosaur's final glide. These are not mere relics. They hold DNA, viable strands of life, preserved in rock. How? Why? In the Pokémon world, life pulses with impossibility. Pikachu harnesses lightning. Mewtwo bends minds. Yet these prehistoric forms succumbed, wiped out by asteroids, ice ages, volcanic fury, or something darker. A vulnerability hidden in their power. Nostalgia pulls us back to Kanto's gyms, Johto's peaks, Hoenn's oceans. We chased badges, tamed the wild. Fossils were prizes, curiosities revived in labs for our teams. Dome to Kabuto, scuttling from Devonian depths, Helix to Omanite, spiralling from Ammonite ghosts. But pause, what force felled them? Pokémon heal with potions, evolve through trials. Immortality seems woven into their essence. Fairy types evade harm. Steel endures, yet paleontology whispers otherwise. Entire lineages erased, no Arceus intervention, no Mew miracle, just silence. This contradiction gnaws. Were they weaker then? Less attuned to the world's energies? Or did the planet itself rebel? Mass extinctions scarred the timeline. Cambrian bursts of diversity, crushed by Ordovician chills. Permian hellfire, 90% gone. Cretaceous impact, dinosaurs dusted. Pokémon fossils map these scars. Anorith from Anomalocaris claws, 500 million years back. Lileep's algal grasp, 400 million. Cranidos heads, butting through Cretaceous dusk. They died, petrified. Their magic, inert. Enter the breakthrough. Late 20th century. 1987 to be precise, in the Pokémon calendar. Scientists pierced the veil. DNA extraction from inert stone. Not scrapes or echoes, but full genetic codes, viable, revivable. Labs in Cinnabar, Slateport, Auber unlocked the secret. Enzymes stripped mineral cages. Polymers yielded sequences intact. A Helix fossil yields Omanite, tentacles twitching after 66 million years. Kabutops slices free from dome, blades honed by time. This was no alchemy, pure science, wedding biology to geology. But why then? Why that era? Post-war labs, flush with tech from Sylph Co., Devon Corp., researchers like Blaine pondering volcanic ash. They cracked petrification's code. Heat, pressure, rare minerals, locked DNA in stasis. No degradation, no entropy, just waiting. Revived Pokémon burst forth, levels low, but potential vast, evolving, thriving, proof that extinction was not absolute. Yet the paradox lingers. If revival works, why extinct at all? Did their powers fade in cataclysms? Or did humanity's hand hasten the end, long before trainers walked? Speculation stirs unease. Perhaps Pokémon tied their vitality to ecosystems now lost. Cradily forests drowned in carboniferous swamps, Archeops skies emptied by Jurassic shifts, Bastiodon shields cracked in meteor rain. Magic demands balance, disrupt it, and even immortals fall. Or darker still, ancient wars, legendaries clashing, fallout dooming lineages, Rayquaza's rage, Groudon's blaze, fossils as casualties of divine fury. This journey plunges through deep time. Cambrian explosion, 541 million years ago. Trilobites birthing Kabuto lines. Devonian seas spawning ammonites and algae horrors. Carboniferous crawlers. Triassic turtles like Tortuga. Jurassic birds, Archaeopteryx shadows in Archeops. Cretaceous titans. Rampardos rampaging till the end. Then forward, Unova hybrids, mismatched Dracovish lurching from mishmashed parts. Galar dens. Alola variants, Paldea's Area Zero, where past paradoxes clash with future ghosts. Roaring Moon, Iron Valiant, fossils bleeding into futures unforeseen. Each layer reveals more. Not just history, a warning. Pokémon world harbours mortality's chill beneath its warmth. Revival taunts us with what was lost. But how did it begin? The very first unlock. That pivotal moment on a fiery isle, where stone breathed life anew. It all traces to the Cinnabar breakthrough of Generation 1. What secrets did those labs truly unearth? Stay with me, the stone is about to crack. In the shadow of a simmering volcano on the volcanic isle of Cinnabar in the Kanto region, science pierced the veil of extinction for the first time. This was 1996. Red and blue, the birth of fossil revival. A single laboratory, tucked inside the island's gym, became ground zero for awakening the ancient dead. Picture the scene, though not with eyes, but with the mind's quiet echo. Young trainers fresh from Victory Road's trials. Clutch stone relics unearthed from Mount Moon's depths. Dome fossil, helix fossil, old amber. These were no mere rocks. They cradled DNA, fossilized whispers from epochs long silenced, millions of years compressed into handheld curiosities. The lab's mastermind was a nameless scientist, his white coat stained by ash and ambition. He stood before a hulking machine, its panels humming with early Pokémon tech. No grand ceremony, no crowds, just the whir of revival chambers, pulling genetic code from stone. Insert the fossil, activate the sequence, wait, and then life stirred. From the dome, fossil emerged Kabuto, level 5 in the originals. A trilobite reborn, armoured shell gleaming under lab lights, eyes compound and ancient, scanning a world 500 million years removed from its Cambrian cradle. Evolve it later with a water stone, and Kabutops rises, scythes ready, a predator from the Permian shadows. Choose the helix instead. An Omanite uncoils, same low-level start. Ammonite spiral, tentacles tentative, Devonian seas encoded in its spiral shell. Feed it candy, an Omastar crowns itself, spiky and imperious, echoing Cretaceous behemoths that spiraled into oblivion 66 million years ago. The old amber demanded a different path, snagged from Pewter City's museum, or hidden in Cerulean Cave's gloom during remakes, revived not as a hatchling, but closer to power. Level 30 in the classics, a pterosaur shadow unfurling wings. Aerodactyl, pterodactylus in flesh soaring predator, its genus even inspiring a real-world namesake fossil. But power came with restraint. Levels varied by game, by version. 5 in yellow's glow, up to 44 in fire red and leaf green's polish. Not random, calculated. The machine calibrated youth to challenge, babies needing nurture, elders demanding respect. DNA reconstruction demanded balance. Too much rush, and the prehistoric code fractured. Here's the quiet fracture in the fairy tale. Early trainers faced a cruel fork. Mount Moon offered dome or helix, one choice, not both. Pick the armoured crawler, forfeit the spiral swimmer, or vice versa. Why? Lab tech too primitive for multiples? Resources scarce on a volcano's edge? Or something deeper, unspoken? The fossils repelled each other, their ancient rivalries encoded in stone, refusing coexistence in the same timeline. Science didn't explain it then. It whispered limitation. Trainers traded later or scavenged duplicates through glitches and events, but that first choice lingered. A Pokémon world promise of abundance, undercut by scarcity. You revived one ancient line, the other slumbered on. Nostalgia pulls us here. Cinnabar's gym badge, the surf to reach it, the magma floor battles, safe memories, familiar pixels, yet beneath unease coils. What stirred in that machine? Pure DNA or echoes of consciousness? Did Kabuto dream of trilobite swarms trampling Cambrian floors? Did Omanite recall asteroid fire raining on ammonite reefs? Revival wasn't creation, it was resurrection. And resurrection asks, what dies when the dead return? Speculation creeps in, unbidden. Perhaps the levels marked stability thresholds. Level 5, fragile, half-rebuilt psyches blinking into light. Higher numbers, more complete transfers, memories bleeding through. Aerodactyls roar at 30, not a newborn screech, but a fossilized fury unbroken. Trainers bonded fast, but did the revived sense their jailers? Stone to flesh, lab to wild. A second extinction averted, or merely postponed? The breakthrough spread ripples. Kanto's labs proved it possible. Prehistoric DNA, viable. Living Pokémon from 250 million year tombs. Trilobites crawled again. Ammonites spun. Pterosaurs pierced skies once thought empty, yet the choice haunted. Dome or helix, armor or coil. One path taken, one forsaken. That fork in Mount Moon's cave wasn't accident. It was the first clash of ancient bloodlines. A Cambrian conflict, brewing since the explosion of life, 500 million years ago. Dome versus helix. Next, we unravel why trainers were forced to choose sides in a war older than bones themselves. In the dim glow of Cinnabar's revival chamber, two fossils emerged first from Kanto's ancient depths. Dome and helix, not just relics, rivals, locked in a biological war that spanned epochs. Their DNA whispered of primordial seas where survival meant domination. Kabuto from the dome, Omanite from the helix. Choose one, and the other faded to dust. Why? What ancient grudge forced scientists to pick a side? Picture those first excavations in Mount Moon. Trainers unearthed them side by side. Dome fossil, squat and armoured. Helix fossil, spiraled and fierce. Revived at the lab, they burst forth as level 5 wonders. Kabuto, scuttling across the chamber floor with armoured plates gleaming. Omanite, uncoiling tentacles from its shell, eyes sharp with forgotten hunger. But this was no random pairing. Their origins trace back to the Cambrian explosion, 541 million years ago, the dawn of complex life. Kabuto embodies the trilobite, Earth's first invertebrate kings. These arthropods ruled the oceans for over 250 million years. From the Cambrian to the Permian, hard exoskeletons like natural tanks, compound eyes scanning murky depths, legs paddling through sediment-choked waters. Trilobites diversified into thousands of species. Predators, scavengers, survivors. They defined the Paleozoic era. Fossils of their molted shells litter strata worldwide. Kabuto mirrors this perfectly. Its dome-shaped carapace, free-swimming tail, even the Pokédex notes its resemblance to horseshoe crabs, distant trilobite cousins still crawling today. But dominance came at a cost. Trilobites faced endless challenges, jaws snapping, shells cracking under pressure. Enter the helix. Omanite, born from ammonites, not Cambrian natives. These cephalopods rose later, Devonian seas around 409 million years ago, spiraled shells for buoyancy, tentacles tipped with hooks. Ammonites evolved into ocean masters, thousands of species, some with spiky whirls like Omastar's final form. They thrived through mass extinctions, Triassic, Jurassic, even into the Cretaceous, until 66 million years ago. That asteroid's firestorm claimed them. Why the conflict? In Pokemon's lore, Dome and Helix weren't unearthed together by accident. Their rivalry echoes real paleontology. Trilobites peaked in the Cambrian. Ammonites eclipsed them later. Imagine those ancient oceans. Trilobite swarms dominating shallows. Armoured hordes filtering plankton. Clashing with early cephalopods. Tentacles versus claws. Buoyant shells ramming rigid plates. Ammonites adapted faster. Gas-filled chambers for quick escapes. Siphons jetting ink clouds. Trilobites, bound by heavy armour, lagged. Oxygen drops in the Devonian. Trilobite numbers plummeted. Ammonites surged. Revival at Cinnabar pitted them head-to-head again. Choose Dome. Revive Kabuto. Its water rock typing nods to Trilobite resilience. Evolving to Kabutops, a scythe-wielding hunter. Deadly in Gen 1's metagame, swift swim ability evoking ancient paddling. But Helix, Omanite's rock-water build, screams Ammonite. Shell Crush attack pulverizing foes, evolving to Omastar, tentacles lashing with spikes, higher special stats for that cephalopod intelligence. Trainers debated endlessly. Dome for defense, Helix for offense, fan art exploded, memes of Bill's phone cursed by Helix. Yet beneath the fun, a deeper unease stirs. What if their rivalry never ended? In the Pokémon world, DNA doesn't lie. Fossils preserved in the same strata suggest overlap. Late Paleozoic seas where Trilobite holdouts met Ammonite upstarts. Competition for food, mating grounds, oxygen. Trilobites went extinct around 252 million years ago. Permian Triassic event. Worst mass dying ever. 96% of species gone. Ammonites endured until the dinosaurs' end. Kabuto's line halted early. Omanites pushed to the brink. Revived, do they remember? Kabuto's Pokédex. It was the dominant predator before the oceans filled with fish. Omanite. The spiral always points to the North Pole star. Speculate with me. Perhaps Cinnabar's machines didn't just reconstruct bodies. They awakened instincts, duel them in battle. Kabuto shields with rapid spin. Omanite blasts with water gun. Ancient echoes. Trainers revived thousands. Did Kabuto hordes clash with Omanite schools? In Cerulean Gym rematches? Lore hints at more. In Fire Red and Leaf Green, levels climb to 30. Stronger. Hungrier. What if unchecked? A new Cambrian war in modern seas. Quietly, scientists noted anomalies. Revived Kabuto, shedding exoskeletons unnaturally fast. Omanite shells spiraling tighter under stress. This biological feud shaped fossil revival itself. Dome versus Helix became legend. Choose wrong, and your rival mocked you forever. Nostalgia hits hard for Gen 1 players. That twinge choosing Helix over Dome, or vice versa. But peel back the comfort. These weren't cute pets, predators from hellish origins. Trilobites crawled through anoxic horrors. Ammonites navigated asteroid winters. Their DNA carries extinction scars. Revived, they hunger. For what? Supremacy? Cambrian conflict lingers in every fossil dig. Kabuto's Trilobite legacy. Brief, brutal rule. Omanite's Ammonite saga. Long adaptive reign. Together, they frame Pokemon's prehistoric heart. Rivals eternal. But another anomaly shadowed Cinnabar's triumphs. Old Amber, sealed in resin, waiting. Up next, the Amber anomaly unveils its pterosaur secret. What wings it unfurled, and why it changed everything. But not all fossils in Kanto's shadowed caves are carved from unyielding stone. The Old Amber stands apart. It gleams with an unnatural golden hue. Trapped within its embrace lies not petrified bone, but genetic essence, preserved in ancient tree resin, a substance that defies the crush of time, while dome and helix fossils demand the grinding precision of rock revival. The old amber whispers of a different origin, resin from prehistoric forests, slowly hardening around soft tissue, shielding DNA from decay. Scientists at Cinnabar puzzled over it first. This anomaly, why does it yield a creature unbound by ocean depths or armored shells? Enter Aerodactyl, the king of the skies, revived not as a hatchling of the sea, but as a predator unchained. Level 5 in the earliest games, soaring from its amber prison, wings spanning wide. Jaws lined with savage teeth, it commands the air with primal fury. A fossil that feels alive even before revival. Imagine the lab on Cinnabar Island, humid air thick with anticipation. The machine hums, resin cracks under heat and light, and out bursts Aerodactyl, not crawling from sediment like Kabuto, or spiralling from a shell like Omanite. This one launches skyward, screeching defiance at the modern world. Its design draws straight from Earth's lost giants, pterosaurs, those leathery-winged lords of the Mesozoic, specifically Pterodactylus, a Jurassic flyer from 150 million years ago. Long beak, sharp crest, Aerodactyl mirrors it perfectly, down to the elongated fingers anchoring those vast wings. But the connection runs deeper, into our reality. Paleontologists discovered a new pterosaur genus. In 2014, they named it Aerodactylus, directly honouring the Pokémon that inspired them, a species called Aerodactylus scolopacoseps, unearthed from Bavarian limestone, its skull echoing Aerodactyl's fierce profile. This nod blurs lines, Pokémon lore shaping science, or science echoing Pokémon dreams. Why amber for such a beast? Stone suits the grounded ancients, dome for the armoured crawler, helix for the coiled swimmer, but Aerodactyl demands flight, resin light and translucent, like the skies it ruled. Consider the implications. Tree sap entombs near insect's hole, feathers intact, blood preserved. In Pokémon world, it captures a pterosaur mid-hunt, wings folded, DNA pulsing within, revival unleashes it. But at what cost? Does the amber hold more than genes, echoes of its final scream? Or the shadow of whatever felled the sky's monarch? Aerodactyl's Pokédex entries hint at terror, extinct for 70 million years, yet revived to hunt anew. In Cerulean Cave, additional old ambers wait in remakes, luring trainers to shadowed depths. Go claims one in the anime, Journey's arc, binding it to the present. Real-world pterosaurs vanished at the end Cretaceous, 66 million years ago. Asteroid fire, or volcanic fury, Aerodactyl endures through resin's grip. But why this preservation? When oceans claimed trilobites and ammonites, did forests encroach on aerial domains, trapping flyers in sticky downfall? Speculation stirs unease. Perhaps old amber isn't random, a deliberate relic, hidden in Mount Moon alongside dome and helix, but elevated, found later, revived separately, as if the sky's king demands reverence or warning. Its revival skips the frail youth of other fossils, straight to dominance. Trainers feel it, mounting Aerodactyl, wind whipping past. Mega evolution later amplifies the dread. Stone plates hardening its form, eyes glowing primal. It challenges the cozy nostalgia of Pokémon battles, reminding us. These ancients were not pets, but conquerors. Pterodactylus fossils taught us flight's evolution, from reptiles to airborne supremacy. Aerodactylus genus cements the tribute, scientists citing Pokémon's influence, a franchise birthing paleontology. Yet in Kanto, revival tech pioneered on Cinnabar falters here. Amber's glow hints at instability, genetic whispers unstable. What if the anomaly spreads, resin infiltrating stone labs, blending sea kings with sky tyrants? The lab's hum grows erratic. Aerodactyl circles overhead, watching, waiting. Fossils no longer silent. This aerial enigma dominates Generation 1's fossil trio, outpacing Dome and Helix in raw power. But its preservation raises questions that linger. Why resin for the ruler above, when stone suffices below? As Kanto's revivals peak, attention shifts eastward, to Johto's shadowed ruins, where the fossil clamour falls eerily quiet. Up next, the silent generation. Johto arrived like a whisper after Kanto's thunderous revival. Generation 2. Gold, silver, crystal. The world expanded westward. New lands, towering peaks, misty lakes, ancient ruins etched with forgotten scripts. Yet beneath it all, a profound quiet settled over the fossil hunts. No new bones turned up in those Johto digs. No dome, no helix, no old amber waiting in the clay. Just silence. Players skewed the region. From the shadowed depths of the ruins of Alf to the craggy heights of Mount Silver, they chased unknown, those enigmatic letters floating in puzzle chambers, tied to some primordial language, but fossils? Absent. Completely. For the first time since Cinnabar lit the spark, no fresh prehistoric DNA surfaced in the games. Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes kept it that way. No local breakthroughs, just echoes from the east. Why? Johto brimmed with antiquity. Bell towers summoned forgotten legends. Burned towers mourned spectral flames. The Tin Tower legend spoke of a rainbow-winged guardian watching over eons. And the dragons, Lugia, Ho-Oh, eternal watchers, from an age before trainers. The land screamed of deep time, yet scientists there found nothing to revive. No labs hummed with resurrection chambers. No expeditions unearthed Cambrian remnants or Cretaceous claws. It was as if the earth itself held its breath. The lore shifted then, subtly, insidiously, from revived extinctions to living ancients, Pokémon that had endured, unbroken. Kabutops and Aerodactyl faded from the spotlight. In their place, creatures that time forgot to claim. Larvitar, hatched from mountain stones, evolving into armoured behemoths like Tyranitar, pseudo-legends roaming wild, or the Relicanth rumours, though that fish swam deeper in later tales. But in Johto, the narrative pivoted. Ancient did not mean dead, it meant hidden, persistent, watching from the fringes. Consider the unknown. 93 forms in crystal, later more. They pulsed with otherworldly energy. Pokédex entries hinted at telepathy from vanished civilizations, ruins that predated human memory. No need to dig them up. They were already here, stirring, and the legendaries, Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres returned, but now framed as relics of Johtos wilds, not fossils, survivors. The lore whispered that some species simply refused oblivion. They adapted, they endured. Revival became quaint, unnecessary. Why pull life from stone when ancients walked among you? But the old revived ones lingered. How? Trade networks, lifelines stretching back to Kanto. Players shipped dome fossils across routes 14 and 27, revived them on Cinnabar, then ferried the newborns west. Kabuto scuttled into Johto waters. Omanite spiraled in new seas. Aerodactyl pierced Johto skies. The population held, barely. Through human hands, Pokémon Center exchanges, link cables humming with data. Kanto became the cradle, Johto the dependent heir. This reliance hinted at fragility. Kantos labs strained under the demand. No local sources meant every Kabutops in Johto traced to one island, one volcano-shadowed facility. What if Cinnabar faltered? What if trades dried up? The prehistoric lines thinned, reliant on nostalgia, on players bridging regions. It painted a precarious web. Johto's silence forced a question. Had the fossils run dry, or did the land conceal something worse? Speculation stirs here. Perhaps Johto's geology betrayed the hunters. Softer soils, younger strata, less conducive to preservation than Kantos' rugged vaults. Mist Moon yielded trilobites and ammonites because its limestone cradled them. Johto, rolling hills, forested valleys. Erosion claimed the bones before picks could strike, or culture. Johto revered the eternal. Burned towers taught harmony with the past. Reviving the dead, taboo, an affront to Lugia's watchful gaze. Better to let ancients like Unown reveal themselves, on their terms, yet unease lingers, deeper. What if the absence signaled depletion? Kantos' early booms exhausted the veins. Mut Moon's caves picked clean by rival trainers. Cinnabar processing overtime. Johto explorers turned up empty, because the earth gave all it had. Prehistory rationed. Finite, or darker still. Suppose the revived ones stirred defences, ancient instincts rejecting further disturbance, Kabutops hordes patrolling dig sites, Aerodactyl shadows driving crews away. Johto became a no-fly zone for fossils, a silent treaty between eras. The Pokédex reinforced this pivot. Entries spoke of Tyranitar as a mountain shaper from eons past, not extinct, merely rare. Slaking slumbered in caves, echoing primordial sloth. Relicanth lived, unchanged since Devonian depths. Though absent in Gen 2, its shadow loomed. The message crystallized. Not all ancients needed resurrection. Some waited, patient. In Johto's wilds, the lore matured. Fossils were a Kanto novelty. Johto offered permanence, creatures that outlasted stone itself. Trade sustained the bridge. Roots bustled with exchanges. A helix from saffron for a totodile. An old amber swapped for HM moves. Populations stabilized. Cranidos precursors? Not yet. But Kabuto lines spread. Omastar herds grazed coastal shallows. Aerodactyl nests perched on whirl islands. Human ingenuity knit the regions. Yet it underscored the hush. Johto innovated elsewhere. Berries, breeding, day-night cycles, fossils, borrowed, second-hand. This era birthed quiet doubts. Players felt it. No local lab thrills. No rival fossil feuds like Dome versus Helix, just imports. And in that gap, mystery bloomed. Why no Johto originals? Did the developers signal scarcity? Or did the world building hint at real limits? Prehistory as a resource, tapped out in the east. Johto forcing evolution in lore, from revival to reverence, from science to myth. Generations later, hints emerged, Unown tied to Sinjo ruins, portals to other realms. Perhaps fossils lurked there, in extra-dimensional cracks, untouched, but in Gen 2 they stayed buried. The silence defined Johto, a generation that looked backward without digging deeper. Ancients alive, fossils farmed from afar, a pivot that reshaped expectations. And as Johto's quieter stretched, a new hum approached from the south. Hin's shores, where corporations chased bolder revivals. The Devon Corporation era awaited. What corporate ambitions shattered Johto's hush? What root and claw waited in Devonian depths? The silence would not hold. By the time the Johto region fell silent on new fossil finds, the world of Pokémon revival had already begun to change hands. The Cinnabar Island Laboratory, once the glowing heart of resurrection science, started fading from the spotlight. Its academic purity, driven by lone researchers chasing ancient truths, gave way to something far more structured, something corporate. Enter the Devon Corporation. Headquartered in Rustboro City, this Hoenn powerhouse didn't just fund expeditions, they redefined them. No longer were fossils revived in a remote volcanic lab, surrounded by the whispers of Kanto's wilds. Now the process moved to sleek facilities in Slateport and Rustboro, sterile rooms, corporate oversight. A shift from passion to precision. Why the change? Devon claimed efficiency, faster revivals, higher success rates, but whispers in trainer circles hinted at more. Cinnabar's methods were unpredictable, tied to one man's vision. Devon's promised scalability. Mass production, some said. For a price, in Hoenn's vast desert, under relentless sun and shifting sands, 2 new fossils emerged. The root fossil, gnarled like petrified seaweed frozen in time, and the claw fossil, sharp, predatory, evoking long-extinct hunters. Dug up by Devon-backed teams, these weren't random finds, they were targeted. Hoenn's arid wastes, echoing with the ghosts of ancient seas, yielded relics from 400 million years past. Choose the root fossil, and Devon hands you Lileep, a swaying, tentacled anomaly, rooted yet alive. It blooms into Cradily, a floral predator with a maw that devours light itself. Inspired by Devonian sea lilies, those carboniferous holdouts that carpeted prehistoric oceans. Or pick the claw. Anorith scuttles forth, armoured and relentless, evolving to Armaldo, a Cambrian nightmare reborn, modelled on Anomalocaris, the first true apex swimmer 500 million years ago. Revived at stronger levels than Cinnabar's fledglings, these Hoenn ancients hit the field ready, but the fossils themselves? Devon lets you pick only one per excavation, root or claw, no duplicates in a single dig. A deliberate limit. Why force the choice? Scarcity drives value, perhaps, or hides something deeper in the sands. This corporate pivot carried weight. Cinnabar's lab felt like discovery, a professor's dream, unlocking nature's vault for the greater good. Devon's labs, branded, patented. Resurrection as a service. Pokédex entries hint at the tension. Lileep sways in perpetual hunger, as if the revival stirred something incomplete. Armaldo prowls with unnatural aggression, its claws clicking like accusations. What did Devon know that Cinnabar didn't? Academic research chased knowledge. Corporations chased control. Did profit motives rush the process, leaving echoes of ancient pain in these revived forms? Or did Devon unearth secrets too volatile for public labs, fossils whispering of Hoenn's buried cataclysms, timelines fractured long before trainers walked? Trainers traded tales in Rustborough's shadows. Revived fossils behaving oddly. Lileep vines twitching at corporate logos. Armaldo ignoring commands near Devon trucks. Coincidence? Or a rebellion encoded in stone? The old amber from Kanto still worked here too, birthing Aerodactyl under fluorescent lights instead of lava glow. Even that felt altered. Less wild, more contained. Corporate sponsorship promised progress. But progress for whom? The fossils didn't choose Devon. They were claimed. Revived not in isolation, but amid boardroom deals and market shares. Pure science yielded to engineered antiquity. And in that shift, a quiet question lingered. If extinction can be undone for profit, what boundaries remain? The desert sands of Hoenn hold more than 2 fossils. They guard timelines that stretch into deep time, where corporate lights barely reach. In the next chapter, Deep Time in Hoenn, we descend further into those abyssal layers. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. In the scorched sands of Hoenn's desert, where the root fossil and claw fossil first surfaced, Devon Corporation scientists uncovered remnants from an era that predates even the wildest dreams of Kanto's paleontologists. These weren't mere echoes of the Mesozoic. They plunge straight into deep time, 400 million years into the past, the Devonian seas, a world before dinosaurs ever walked. Consider the root fossil, cradled in Rustborough's revival chamber. It stirs to life as Lileep, a swaying stalk of ancient menace, part crinoid, those feathered sea lilies that carpeted Devonian ocean floors, part algae clinging to submerged reefs in perpetual shadow. Lileep's tendrils whip through water like living snares, its body a bulbous anchor rooted in sediment. Pokédex entries whisper of its grip on prey 400 million years old, back when Earth's oceans were a cauldron of experimentation, fish with armor, early forests gasping on land, and Lilip, or its kin, filtering nutrients from currents thick with microscopic life. Revived, it sways in aquariums worldwide, but stare too long. Does it hunger for that lost Devonian twilight? Or has the resin of time twisted its instincts into something colder? Not all Hoenn fossils cling to the shallows. The claw fossil yields anorith, a scuttler from the Cambrian explosion, 500 million years ago, the dawn of complex life. Inspired by Anomalocaris, the era's undisputed apex predator. Imagine it. A meter-long horror with compound eyes scanning primordial seas, segmented limbs ending in serrated claws that shredded trilobites like paper. Anomalocaris ruled before jaws evolved. It simply grasped and impaled. Anorith captures that nightmare. Armoured plates glinting under aquarium lights, spiked tail propelling it through murk. Evolving into Armaldo, a hulking tyrant that could scale sheer cliffs. Pokédex lore ties it to Hoenn's ancient shores, where Cambrian hunters prowled amid the first bursts of biodiversity. Explosions of form, radically alien. No fish, no tetrapods, just relentless, grasping survival. Hoenn's fossils don't just revive beasts, they rewrite timelines. Kanto offered trilobites from the Paleozoic tail end, ammonites spanning Devonian to Cretaceous, pterosaurs from the Age of Giants, familiar. Almost comforting in their place within the family tree, but Hoenn dives deeper. Cambrian claws meet Devonian roots, 500 million years to 400. An ecosystem vaster, stranger. Why this leap? Devon Corporation records hint at Hoenn's geology, preserving older strata, untouched by Kanto's volcanic churn. Or perhaps something deliberate, a regional rift exposing deep time's underbelly. Trainers whisper of desert ruins hiding more. Fossils that won't revive cleanly, glitching in the machine, as if the DNA remembers cataclysms we can't comprehend. Ponder the implications. Lilip and Anorith didn't coexist in life, millions of years apart, yet Hoenn sands mingled their remains. Was it tectonic fury grinding eras together, or a subtler force? Pokémon World's fossil tech assumes clean extraction, but what if deep time bleeds? What if reviving a Cambrian killer awakens echoes of Devonian filters in its veins? Armaldo's claws twitch unnaturally in labs. Lilip's stalk pulses with faint bioluminescence no modern reef knows. Devon scientists log anomalies, growth spurts defying models, behaviours mimicking extinct swarms. Nostalgia pulls us to these Pokémon. Childhood memories of grinding fossils in emerald, choosing root or claw on a whim. But now, in quiet reflection, they challenge the safety of revival. These aren't friendly ghosts, they're invaders from deep time. Patient, primordial, waiting. Hoenn's diversity marks a pivot. Kanto revived the recent dead. Hoenn resurrects the foundational horrors, the building blocks of life itself. Crinoids swaying in eternal forests of the sea. Anomalocaris tearing through the Cambrian frenzy. Together, they paint an ecosystem of raw invention, far beyond Kanto's polished Paleozoic holdovers. No shared seas, no overlapping predators, just Hoenn's desert whispering of a planet reborn multiple times. Trainers excavate them still, in Mirage Tower's depths, risking cave-ins for that rush of ancient power. But each revival chips at the veil. Questions mount. Why do these older fossils yield stronger bonds in battle? Why do Lilip lines infest Devon tanks overnight? And what unseen layers lurk beneath Hoenn's dunes? This deep time gaze lingers. It unsettles the Pokémon we thought we knew. Familiar evolutions now carry the weight of eons. Lilip's gentle rock in teams. Anorith's scrappy climb to Armaldo glory, tinged with something primordial, unfamiliar, as if Hoenn's fossils aren't just revived, they're reintroduced, testing our world anew. The Devon era birthed them, but their true story burrows further into secrets the desert guards jealously. Deeper still, the earth rumbles with more. From Hoenn's ancient grasp, we descend into the Sinnoh underground, where dinosaur bones shatter the calm of Generation 4. What horrors wait in those shadowed digs? The deserts of Hoenn gave way to darker depths. In Sinnoh, the earth itself became the hunting ground. A sprawling labyrinth of tunnels stretched beneath the region, known simply as the underground. Here, trainers delved into shadows far below the surface, chisels in hand, uncovering relics from an era when mountains were young and skies unclaimed. These weren't sun-bleached bones from arid wastes. No, these fossils emerged from walls of solid rock, pried loose in dim lantern light. The Sinnoh underground twisted for miles, a maze of chambers and veins pulsing with forgotten history. Players hammered away at glittering walls, sparks flying, until shapes revealed themselves. Skull-like protrusions, armoured plates, fragments that whispered of beasts long turned to stone. Revival came not in some distant island lab or corporate tower. In Orba City, the mining museum stood as a monument to extraction. Its revival machine hummed with industrial precision, a far cry from the bubbling tanks of old. Fossils slotted in, gears turned, and outstepped living Pokémon at level 20. Instant power. No waiting for levels to grind. This was revival revolutionized, swift and unyielding, as if the museum itself hungered to breathe life back into the stone. Why Orba, the city perched above coal-rich seams, its people etched by pickaxe and dust? The museum curated not just gems, but the bones of titans. It bridged the gap between miner and scientist, turning raw ore into roaring life. Trainers arrived dusty from the depths, fossils clutched tight, only to leave with partners ready for battle. The process felt almost too efficient, too mechanical, as if Sinnoh's earth demanded quick resurrection before secrets spilled. These were no invertebrates from ancient seas. For the first time in the franchise, true dinosaurs clawed their way back. 10 years had passed since Pokémon's birth in 1996. A decade of seashells and shelled horrors, of winged reptiles skirting the edges of avian dreams. Johto skipped fossils entirely. Hoenn dredged up sea scuttlers. But Sinnoh shattered the mould. Dinosaurs, proper ones, with thunderous heads and iron hides. Consider the skull fossil. Cracked from tunnel walls, it reformed into Cranidos, a battering ram of bone and fury. Its dome head, thick as a boulder, evolved into Rampardos, a creature built to shatter stone. Inspired by Pachycephalosaurus, those Cretaceous headbutters who rammed rivals at 40 miles per hour. Imagine the force. Skulls reinforced like helmets, necks coiled springs. In Sinnoh's lore, Cranidos slumbered through eons, awakening to charge without fear. But why now? After 10 years of omission, why unleash these skullcrackers first? Then the armor fossil. Shieldon lumbered forth, its face a fortress of plating. Evolving to Bastiodon, it became a living bulwark, cannons of bone-firing rocky barrages. Drawn from Chasmosaurin ceratopsians, those late Cretaceous guardians, with frills like medieval shields. Bastiodon's design locked eyes forward. Blind to flanks, a tank from the age of ash and asteroid. Dug from the same tunnels, these fossils hinted at herds that roamed Sinnoh's buried plains, armoured against unseen predators. The underground held more than fossils. Rare gems, statues, walls that shifted under hammer blows. It felt alive, breathing, as if the earth resented the intrusion. Trainers spent hours there, screens filled with falling debris, the clink of tools echoing in headphones. Nostalgia blooms for those nights, controller warm in hand, unearthing treasures in secrecy. But peel back the comfort. What else lurked in those depths? Unmarked chambers, echoes that didn't match the map, fossils that resisted the chisel as if clinging to oblivion. This 10-year gap gnaws at the lore. Pokémon launched with Kabuto and Omanite, echoes of Paleozoic seas. Aerodactyl teased the skies. Yet dinosaurs, the icons of prehistory, waited. Why? Perhaps Game Freak held them back, building tension. Or maybe the Pokémon world itself evolved its science slowly. Cinnabar's revival was crude, volatile. Devon's polished but limited. Orbur's machine suggested a breakthrough, harnessing Sinnoh's mineral wealth to stabilize dinosaur DNA. Unstable genes, perhaps. Too wild for earlier tech. Speculate deeper. The underground might conceal more than bones. Sinnoh's mythos pulsed with creation trios, lakes of origin, a world remade by divine spears. What if these tunnels pierced older layers, strata from before Arceus shaped the land? Dinosaurs as remnants of a primordial chaos, revived now because Sinnoh's story demanded confrontation with raw power. Cranidos and Shieldon didn't just battle. They headbutted legendaries in lore, cracked distortions in Platinum's depths, tools for taming the untamable. Players traded fossils feverishly, debating which to revive. Skull for offense, armor for defense. Both evolutions dominated gyms, their roars shaking speakers. But unease lingers. These dinosaurs felt heavier, more primal than Hoenn scuttlers. Lileep swayed like kelp. Anorith snapped like forgotten shrimp. Rampardos charged like earthquakes. Bastiodons stood like mountains. The franchise had flirted with bigness before, but this marked a shift. Dinosaurs proper, filling a void fans didn't know they craved. Orbur's museum became pilgrimage site. Rourke, the gym leader, embodied the miner's creed. His Cranidos mirrored the player's finds. Victory meant mastery over the depths, yet questions compound. Did the underground ever yield incomplete fossils? Mismatched skulls and plates? Rumours in fan circles spoke of glitches, walls that swallowed tools, the earth guarding its own. 10 years, from pixelated red chasing helix streams to diamonds delving trainers. The gap mirrored real paleontology's arc. Trilobites first, then ammonites, building to T-Rex hype. Pokémon mirrored it, patiently unearthing its roster. But in-universe, it unsettles. Why did Sinnoh's scientists succeed where others stalled? Was the underground a natural incubator? Fossils preserved in magnetic ores? Or engineered? Tunnels widened by forces beyond human drills? Feel the weight. Descend those stairs in your mind, lantern flickering. Hammer strikes reveal a glint. A skull peers back, eyes hollow. Slot it in the machine. Lights pulse. A roar erupts, shaking the museum glass. Nostalgia warms, but chill follows. What else waits, unrevived, in endless dark? This dinosaur dawn in Sinnoh's depths sets the stage for the dinosaur renaissance, where the roster explodes with thunder lizards and ancient giants, pulling the lore into thunderous new eras. Deep in the Oreburg Mining Museum, where the air hangs thick with dust from ancient strata, scientists first cracked open the skull fossil. This jagged remnant, unearthed from Sinnoh's deepest veins, pulsed with the raw essence of a forgotten predator. Revived in an instant, it birthed Cranidos, a compact beast, all muscle and bone. Its dome-shaped skull gleamed under the lab lights, pure Pachycephalosaurus. No dilutions, no hybrids, just the Cretaceous head-butting machine, frozen in time for 66 million years. Now stamping its feet at level 20, Cranidos grew fast, evolved into Rampardos under the right pressures. Imagine that skull. Solid bone, thicker than steel, engineered for collision. Paleontologists debate it still. Did these creatures ram rivals in brutal dominance fights, or shatter the hides of larger foes? In the Pokémon world, Rampardos answers with sheer force. A single headbutt craters boulders, shatters ice, rampages through gyms. It embodies the spear, the offense, the unrelenting charge. But the underground yielded more than weapons. Beside the skulls lay fragments of armor, thick plates, curved shields, etched with the scars of survival. The armour fossil revived as Shieldon. Smaller, sturdier, its face a fortress of bone, inspired by chasmosaurin ceratopsians. Think Torosaurus or Pentaceratops. Those sprawling frills from the late Cretaceous, flaring wide like battle banners. Not the short-frilled centrosaurs, but the long ornate defences of the open plains. Shieldon hunkers low, brows furrowed, ready to withstand the storm. Evolve it, and Bastiodon emerges, a living bulwark. Its shield face spans nearly 3 feet across in the wild. Riveted plates unyielding, Pokédex entries whisper of endurance. It repels cannon fire, they say, anchors itself against earthquakes, the perfect counter. Where Rampardos thrusts forward, Bastiodon digs in. Spear meets shield. This was no coincidence. Sinnoh's fossils captured an evolutionary arms race. Picture the Cretaceous floodplains, 80 million years ago. Herds of proto-Shieldon roaming vast river deltas. Armoured flanks gleaming under a hazy sun. Then the challengers, Cranidos Pax, young and reckless, honing their domes on rocks and rivals. Impacts echo like thunder. Bone reshapes bone. Each generation, skulls thicken. Frills elongate. Defences stack higher. Predators evolve alongside prey. Or were they rivals in the same niche? Marginocephalians locked in a spiral of escalation. Rampardos charges. Bastiodon braces. The clash reverberates through sediment layers, preserved in the fossils we dig today. But why these two? Why pair the purest battering ram with the ultimate barricade? Revival at the museum wasn't random. Auberg's machines synced their DNA perfectly, as if the Earth itself demanded the matchup. Trainers pit them in battles now. Rampardos cracks the shield. Bastiodon outlasts the spear. Echoes of that ancient standoff. Yet something lingers in the revival chambers. A quiet dissonance. Cranidos revives with a roar that rattles the exhibits. Shieldon emerges silent, eyes scanning shadows. Were they locked in this dance until the end? Did the arms race consume them? 66 million years later, we restart it, pull them from dormancy, set them against each other again. Nostalgia draws us in. Those Generation 4 digs in the underground, flashlights sweeping veins of ore, heart racing at the glint of bone, familiar thrill. But peel back the comfort. What if their extinction wasn't just an asteroid? What if the spear and shield perfected each other into oblivion? Mutual destruction etched in the strata. Paleontologists nod at the parallels. Pachycephalosaurs and ceratopsians shared those final million years. Wyoming badlands yield their mingled bones. Alberta rivers hide frilled skulls beside domed ones. Coexistence. Competition. In Pokémon lore, Sinnoh crystallizes it. The skull fossil as aggressor. Armor as response. Revival tech, pioneered just 10 years into the franchise, ushers the dinosaur renaissance. No more invertebrates from Hoenn seas. Now, true terrestrial titans. Marginocephalians reclaim the surface. Rampardos leads packs in the wilds. Territorial, unforgiving. Bastiodon guards nests. Frill vibrating warnings. Trainers bond with them. Nostalgia fueling the choice. That museum hum. The underground's chill, but unease creeps. These aren't gentle revivals like Lilip's sway or a Norith scuttle. These demand confrontation. Evolution's cold logic reborn. Spear honed sharper, shield forged thicker. Until what? The cycle breaks? Speculation stirs in fan theories. Hidden Pokédex data hints at Sinnoh's distortions. Time anomalies underground. Did Cranidos and Shieldon fossils entwine deeper than we know? Merged timelines, pulling pure forms from a fractured Cretaceous? Or simpler, human hubris? We balanced the equation they couldn't. Pit Rampardos against Bastiodon in arenas. Watch the sparks, feel the ground shake. But late at night, in quiet labs, do the revived sense the unfinished war? The dinosaur renaissance dawned bright in Sinnoh. Skulls and armour, spear and shield, a perfect contrast. Purest forms of prehistoric pugilists. Yet it whispers questions. What drove that arms race to its edge? And what happens when we reignite it? The answers may lie buried further still. In Unova's ancient turtle from Generation 5, waiting to surface with secrets of its own. Deep in Unova's shadowed ruins, the cover fossil waits. This curved shell fragment, unearthed from the desert sands of Relic Castle, cradles DNA from an era 210 million years ago. Trainers carry it to Nakreen City's Pokémon lab, where scientists breathe life into Tirtuga. The ancient turtle emerges, its armoured body slick with primordial ooze, eyes gleaming with instincts forged in Triassic seas. Unova marks a shift. After Sinnoh's thundering dinosaurs, these fossils dive back into the ocean's memory. No more headlong charges or armoured fronts. Here, survival means withdrawal. The cover fossil revives a guardian that retreated into its shell when the world grew hostile. Tirtuga swims into the modern Pokémon world, flippers cutting through waters teeming with new predators. But does it recognise them? Or does it sense something older, something that drove its kind to near extinction? Look closer at Tirtuga's form, that broad spiked carapace, the long neck protected by bony rings, the flippers built for deep water propulsion. This is no coincidence. Game Freak drew straight from Proganocales, one of the very first turtles to crawl from Triassic mud. Fossils of Proganocales, found in Germany and Thailand, date to 220 million years past. It lacked the streamlined shell of modern turtles. Instead, it armoured itself head to tail, a living fortress against a savage world. Jaws crushing armoured prey, tail spiked for defence. Proganocales did not flee. It endured. Tirtuga mirrors this perfectly. Evolving into Caracosta, it gains even thicker plating, a hydrostatic jaw that snaps with hydraulic force. Pokédex entries whisper of its watery blasts and shell slams. But beneath the moveset lies a question. Why revive this relic now? Unova's labs, humming with revival tech refined from Kanto's crude experiments, pull Tirtuga from dormancy. It hatches at level 20, ready to battle gym leaders and drift veil threats. Yet its eyes scan the horizon differently, as if remembering supercontinents long shattered. Picture Tirtuga in Castilia's polluted bay, or surfing Unova's roots amid schools of Basculin. Its instincts scream retreat. Proganocales survived the end Triassic extinction, when 90% of species vanished in volcanic fire. Lava floods from Pangaea's rifts choked the skies for 30,000 years. Oceans acidified. Tirtuga carries that memory in its blood. In the Pokémon world, does it withdraw not just from trainers' Pokéballs, but from the subtle poisons of progress? Factories belching smoke over Nuvema town. Roots scarred by construction, an ancient marine reptile dropped into a world of plastic waste and invasive starly flocks. Speculate for a moment. What if Tirtuga's revival stirs more than muscle and shell? Proganocales fossils show healed wounds from ancient predators, bites from Rauisuchians, contemporaries in the Triassic nightmare. Tirtuga's Pokédex notes its slow speed, deliberate power. Perhaps its DNA encodes survival protocols beyond mere endurance. A sixth sense for cataclysms. In Unova's anime arcs, fossils like this fuel hybrid horrors, but Tirtuga stands pure, uncombined. What warnings does it ignore, or heed in silence, retreating deeper into Undella Bay's trenches? Trainers bond with it anyway. Teach it aquajet bursts, stack shell smashes for rampages, but watch Tirtuga during battles. That pause before withdrawing. Is it strategy, or instinct urging escape from battles that echo ancient dooms? Caracosta, fully armoured, crushes foes with wide guard, protecting allies from unseen barrages, as if it knows what's coming. The Pokémon world feels safe, grasslands alive with Patrat, cities pulsing with human ambition. Yet Tirtuga reminds us, turtles outlasted dinosaurs, outlasted ice ages. What are they preparing for now? Unova's fossils do not stop at armoured retreat. In those same relic depths, another fragment stirs. But that story belongs to the first bird in the plume fossil. What wings will it unfurl? But Unova's dig sites held more than just armoured turtles from the Triassic depths. Buried alongside the cover fossil lay fragments of feather and bone, preserved in stone for over 150 million years. This was the plume fossil. A relic not of shell or claw, but of the first fragile attempt at wings. In the games of Generation 5, players unearthed it in the twisting caves of the region, trading it like a secret between friends. Take it to the museum in Nakreen City, and scientists there would coax life from the stone. Out emerges Archon, small and vivid, with crimson feathers and a gaze that pierces the air. They called it the first bird, not for show, for truth. Archon does not walk like its dinosaur kin. It leaps. It glides short bursts on unsteady wings. Its Pokédex entry whispers of a time when it could not yet fly true, hopping between ancient trees in a world still raw from creation. Revival spits it out at level 20, raw and untested, evolvable into Archeops only through the stone's patient alchemy. But even then, Archeops remains grounded in spirit. Its wings beat fierce, yet something holds it back. Look closer at that plume fossil. The shape of the bones, the imprint of plumes on limestone. It mirrors Archaeopteryx, the ghost fossil from Bavaria's quarries. Discovered in 1861, that specimen bridged reptiles and birds like nothing before. Feathers on a dinosaur frame, teeth in a beak, claws on wings. Jurassic era, about 150 million years ago. A transitional form, they say. The spark of flight flickering in the dark. Pokémon's creators knew this. Archon's design lifts straight from those slabs. The long-tail feathers, the toothed jaw, even the way its fossil appears, slabbed and shadowed, echoes museum displays in Munich or Berlin. But why this one? Why the first bird, when Unova brimmed with sea beasts and land hunters? Perhaps to remind us that evolution stumbles. Flight was no gift handed down. It was wrestled from gravity, feather by bloody feather. And then there is the ability, defeatist, Archon's curse, passed to Archeops. When health drops below half, its attack halves too. It falters, it weakens. As if the weight of those ancient skies crushes it still. Pokédex lore paints the picture. Archeops could not fly long. It ruled the land with savage power, but rivals wore it down. Exhausted, it could not escape. Defeatist embodies that tragedy. The first bird, born to soar, chained by its own unfinished form. Imagine the lab in Nakreen. Lights hum low. The revival chamber pulses, stone cracks. Archon stirs, eyes wide in a world it never knew. Does it remember the fall? The failed leaps from fern-choked cliffs? Or is it reborn blank? Only to learn defeat anew. Players bond with it quick. That vulnerability pulls at old memories of catching Pidgey on Route 1. But train it hard, and the unease creeps in. Why does it quit when cornered? What ancient fear lingers in its code? Speculation runs deeper here. In Pokémon's timeline, these fossils predate even the oldest human tales. Archon from the Jurassic, before flowers bloomed or mammals stirred. Yet revived in Unova's modern labs, it clashes with the world. Electric gyms, dragon masters, skyscrapers piercing clouds, it could never claim. Is defeatist a glitch? A safeguard from devs? Or something truer, an echo of extinction? Real Archaeopteryx vanished with the dinosaurs, 6 million years before birds truly took wing. Maybe Archon senses it. The sky was never its home, not fully. Trainers whisper theories in forums late at night. Could Archon evolve further, in some lost code? A true flyer hidden behind defeatist? Or does it symbolize Pokémon evolution itself, halting at the edge of potential? Unova's fossils mix parts sometimes, birthing Dracozolt hybrids from jaw and sail. But plume stays pure, No patchwork bird. Just the original failure, beautiful in its break. The weight settles, Archon hops at your feet, wings twitching. It yearns, but the ground remembers. 150 million years of failed flights whisper through its veins. Revival gives it life, but not victory, not yet. Unova's secrets fade as we turn westward, to Kalos and its curious stagnation. What happened when the fossil rush ground to a halt? That story waits next. Generation 6 arrived in 2013, and with it, the elegant spires of Kalos, a region of pristine beauty where ancient castles pierce the mist-shrouded skies, and wildflowers bloom eternally under the gaze of legends. Yet beneath this facade of timeless grace, something shifted in the story of fossils. For the first time since the earliest days, no new prehistoric remnants surfaced from Kalos soil. No fresh bones, no novel shells, nothing to unearth in glittering caves or shadowed ruins. This was the stagnation, the lost era. Trainers in Lumio City, with its radiant prism tower glowing like a beacon, turned not to local digs. They sought trades from afar. Kanto's dome and helix fossils crossed oceans via link cables and wonder trades. Hoenn's root and claw arrived through patient exchanges. Even Sinnoh's skull and armour, those mighty dinosaur relics, found their way into Kalos' hands. Events sealed the deal. Special distributions at game stores, mystery gifts from the ether. Revivals happen not in homegrown labs, but through imported DNA, pieced together from distant regions. Kalos, the pinnacle of fashion and flair, became a hub for borrowed antiquity. Why this void? Why did the earth of Kalos yield no secrets of its own deep past? Geologists in the Pokémon world might whisper of plate tectonics at play. Imagine vast continental shelves thrust upward in recent epochs. Kalos sits upon a youthful crust, perhaps forged in the fires of volcanic upheaval mere millions of years ago. Fossils demand sedimentation, layers of calm ocean floors, buried slow under silt and sand. But if the land rose too swiftly, those beds could shatter, scattered, subducted into the mantle's hungry maw, or sealed under impenetrable granite veils, too deep for pickaxe or drill. Consider the clues in Kalos lore itself. The ultimate weapon, buried in Gyosenji's valley, hints at cataclysmic forces, energies that warped time and stone alike. Did such power sterilize the fossil record? Erase entire strata in a flash of fairy-type radiance? Or perhaps the region's obsession with beauty mastered deliberate silence, eternal flowers that never wilt, a flow of life unchecked by extinction's shadow. In Kalos, the past feels alive in every petal and gargoyle perch. Maybe fossils were never needed, or maybe they were hidden, waiting for eyes bold enough to question the gloss. This absence lingers like fog over Reflection Cave. It challenges the rhythm we had grown accustomed to. Kanto gave us the originals. Hoenn branched into algae and Anomalocaris. Sinnoh roared with dinosaurs. Unova twisted plumes and jaws into living paradoxes. Then Kalos, quiet, import-dependent, a region that imported its ghosts from elsewhere. What does it say about a land so vibrant, yet so barren of buried history? Did the earth here forget its dead, or did it bury them deeper still, beyond our reach? Speculation mounts. Perhaps Kalos geology mirrors its fairy legends. Realms of illusion over raw truth. Active fault lines like those snaking under Levair City could pulverize ancient remains before preservation. Hot springs in Kuriway town bubble from geothermal vents, hinting at magma chambers that cooked potential fossil sites. No amber sap to trap aerodactyl wings. No lagoon silts for ammonite spirals. Just fractured schist and marble quarries. Beautiful, but empty. Trainers revived Cranidos not from local digs, but from traded skulls. Our Maldo claws shipped from Hoenn shores. The stagnation feels intentional. A pause before greater revelations. Yet in this void, our knees bruise softly. Nostalgia pulls us back to Mount Moon's dim glow, Cinnabar's humming labs. We expect each region to offer its own echo of prehistory. Kalos withholds, forces us to connect dots across the world map. Trade a Tortuga shell from Unova for a shield and plate from Sinnoh. Watch as the revival machine whirs with foreign essence. It binds the Pokémon world tighter, yes, but it raises whispers. What cataclysm scrubbed Kalos clean? A mega evolution gone awry in ancient times? The life Pokemon's flower, channeling energies that dissolved bone to dust? Paleontologists in the games note it indirectly. No museum in Lumiose displays homegrown bones. No professor pores over Kalos-specific strata. The Devon Corporation's rivals in Rustboro send samples, but Kalos contributes none. This lost era spans the entire generation. From X and Y's launch to the Omega Ruby remakes, even in events tied to Zygarde's serpentine coils, no new fossils emerge, just echoes, imports sustaining the flame, deepen the thought. In real-world terms, regions like France inspire Kalos. Provence limestone, yes, but Jurassic coastlines yield ammonites aplenty. Why none in Pokémon? Perhaps Game Freak nodded to truth. Mediterranean uplift erased older layers. Pyrenees granite sealed the rest, or lore whispers louder. Kalos as a post-extinction haven, a place rebuilt after apocalypse, flora overtaking fossil-friendly rock. AZ's thousand-year war, fueling weapons that scorch the earth sterile. The stagnation endures. It marks a pivot. From explosive discovery to quiet reliance. Trainers adapt, trade hubs buzz, but the ground stays silent. No pickaxe strikes gold here. No triumphant revival of Kalos kin. Only borrowed bones animating in foreign light. This pause invites questions that echo unanswered. What force conspired to hide the deep time of this elegant land? And as Kalos fades into traded twilight, we drift toward warmer shores. Up next, Alola and the preservation of lineage awaits, where ancient lines endure in ways that will reshape everything you thought you knew. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. In the tropical paradise of Alola, Generation 7 brought back fossils with a twist. Not entirely new designs, but variants, subtle differences in the jaw fossil and plume fossil, ones that hinted at DNA strands untouched by time or meddling hands. Kalos had stagnated. No fresh digs, just echoes from distant lands. But Alola, isolated, 4 islands ringed by endless ocean, cut off from the mainland's clamour. Here, ancient remains did not scatter. They endured, preserved in volcanic soil, shielded in coral caves, bathed in perpetual warmth. Think of it. Millions of years ago, a jaw fossil washes ashore. Not the jagged mandible from Unova's wilds. This one, sleeker, finer etched, its genetic code locked away. No crosswinds to mix it, no predators to crush it. Just the slow drip of seawater, seeping into cracks, freezing the lineage pure. Revived in labs far from Alola's shores, these variants stirred. A Dracozolt with plumes sharper than before, or a Dracovish jaw that snapped with uncanny precision. Why? The islands. Their seclusion acted like a vault. Specific strands survived. Ones that mainland erosion had long erased. Pokédex entries whisper it. Tortuga shells thicker here. Archeops, feathers iridescent. As if Alola cradled the originals, the true ancestors. Before trades and transports muddied the pool, trainers whispered in ether paradise halls. Could these be purer, closer to the ancients? Yet unease crept in. Revival tech had matured. From Cinnabar's crude vats to Hoenn's polished chambers, Sinnoh's museum displays, Unova's hybrid experiments, each step refined the process. But Alola's variants raised questions. Were scientists selecting now, choosing strands to fit island myths? Or did nature itself decide? The air grew thick with it. Palm fronds rustling over dig sites, waves lapping at buried bones. Alola preserved what others lost. Lineages frozen in amber-like isolation. Dome fossils with spirals untouched by Kanto's quakes. Helix curves smoother than Johto imports. Root and claw, thriving in Hoenn's shadow, found kin here too. But purity has a price. What happens when vaults crack? When scientists peer too closely? Alola's gift was lineage intact, strands untainted, a final breath of ethical clarity before the fall. That fall loomed across the sea, in Galar's misty moors, where the blunder waited, a scandal in fossil science, hybrids gone wrong, ethics shattered. But that is the tale of the Galar blunder. Coming next. In the rolling hills of Galar, where ancient bones whisper from the soil, dig sites called fossil dens emerged. These were no ordinary excavations. Players scoured the wild area, hammers in hand, unearthing jagged fragments of prehistoric life, jaw fossils, sail fossils, covers and plumes shattered by time. But something had changed. The careful revival of pure lineages from Alola gave way to chaos. Gone were the pristine fossils of old, revived whole at trusted labs. Here in Galar, scientists embraced a new philosophy: brute force over precision. They pieced together mismatched parts like a mad puzzle, a sail from one beast fused with the jaw of another. The result? Dracozolt, a creature with a serpentine body and useless legs, sparking eternally from exposed nerves. Dracovish lumbered forth next, its head bolted awkwardly to a fish-like frame, jaws snapping in perpetual hunger. This was no accident. Enter Kara Liss, a researcher with wild eyes and a hammer twice her size. In the anime, she led these digs alongside Brazen, her partner in excavation. Kara embodied the shift. Where past scientists reconstructed DNA strand by strand, she smashed fossils into components. Why wait for perfection? Her methods seemed to say. Revive what you can now. Ethics blurred in the dust. Were these Pokémon? Or experiments gone wrong? Consider the fossils themselves. The jaw fossil, a massive maw from some Jurassic predator, paired with a sail fossil, evoking plesiosaur fins from the late Cretaceous. Alone, they might have yielded majestic ancients. Together, Arctozolt, a bolt-spewing horror with arms too frail to climb, legs fused backward. Dracozolt again, its upper body a relic head on a mismatched torso, forever unstable. These were not restorations, they were amalgamations, Franken Pokémon pieced from the grave. Galar's labs encouraged it. At the end of the dig, players chose combinations. 4 parts, any mix. Revival at level 40. No warnings of the consequences. Pokédex entries hint at the horror. Dracovish drowns its prey, then forgets to eat. Arctozolt freezes its own limbs with static shocks. These beings suffer in silence, trapped in bodies not their own. Kara's haphazard swings represented a dark turn. Science once reverent, now reckless. Chasing headlines over harmony. Why the change? Nostalgia pulls us back to Cinnabar's glow. Omanite spiraling from the tank, pure and whole. But Galar challenged that trust. Perhaps resources dwindled, DNA too fragmented after eons, or ambition outpaced caution. Kara Liss, with her unyielding hammer, symbolized it all. A woman who saw bones not as sacred remains, but raw materials. Her digs unearthed not just fossils, but the first cracks in Pokémon science's foundation. Speculation lingers. Were these hybrids intentional abominations? Tests for genetic limits? Or desperate bids to outrun extinction's shadow? The fossil dens stand as monuments to that blunder. Dusty pits where purity died. Players left with glitchy companions, powerful yet pitiful. Galar revived the past but twisted it into something unrecognizable. And as these mismatched marvels staggered into the light, the world of Pokémon science teetered on a precipice. What came next would eclipse even Kara's folly. Abominations of science awaited in the shadows ahead, horrors that would redefine revival forever. In the shadowed fossil dens of Galar, where Kara Liss and her partner, Bray Zen, unearthed fragmented remains, a new era of resurrection began. Not the careful revival of whole fossils, but something far more reckless. They shattered ancient bones into parts: bird, dino, drake, fish, then pieced them together like a child's broken toy, any upper half with any lower half. No regard for time, no respect for form. This was the birth of the hybrids, Dracovish, Arctozolt, creatures that should never have walked. Take Dracovish first. Its front half comes from the fish fossil, a gaping jaw lined with jagged teeth, fins that flap uselessly in the air, gills that wheeze and struggle on dry land. Scientists claim it holds its breath for 10 minutes. But watch it closely. The laboured heaves, the constant drip from those slits. It was never meant for terra firma. The back half, pulled from the drake fossil, powerful legs built for charging through underbrush, a tail that whips with predatory force, but mismatched. The fish head drags low, straining against the drake's bulk, every step a battle against drowning, every breath a reminder of violation. Then Arctozolt, bird fossil up top, feathered torso, long neck craned awkwardly, wings reduced to shivering arms that spark with static. Electricity surges through circuits nature never wired. The lower half, dino fossil legs, thick, stomping, designed for ramming earth-shaking foes, but the bird's fragile frame buckles under the weight. It lurches forward, sparks flying wild, freezing bursts from mismatched glands. A creature of sky and thunder forced to crawl, its eyes dart in confusion, as if pleading for release from this patchwork prison. Dracozolt shares the drake's fiery upper body, broad chest, clawed arms that glow with heat, but fused to a fishtail that slithers and flops, no legs to propel it. Just a serpentine drag across mud and stone. It blasts flames to compensate, scorches the ground in rage, yet the tail weakens it, leaves it vulnerable. Arctovish completes the horror. Bird torso again, but bottomed with fish, a tail that propels through water alone. On land, it flops helplessly. Freezing breath hisses from gills not its own. These were not accidents. In Unova's ruins years earlier, the seeds were planted. Jaw and sail fossils mingled with cover and plume. But Galar perfected the madness. Kara Liss defended it, called it innovation. Progress unbound by outdated rules. Players dug in those dens, collected shards under lantern light, delivered them to labs without question. Revived level 30 horrors that rampaged in battle. Strong, yes, unstable, always. But consider the misery encoded in their forms. Dracovish gulps air, like a beached whale. Its lungs burn. Fins ache for depths it can no longer reach. Arctozolt's legs tremble from overload. Sparks short-circuit nerves not built to carry them. Pain ripples through chimeric flesh. Pokédex entries hint at it. Low stats in endurance. Glitches in animation. They rage in fights. But at rest, silent suffering. Gills clogging. Bones grinding at unnatural joints. Evolution abhors such unions. Millions of years refined predators into perfection. Kabuto's shell. Aerodactyl's saw. Each a masterpiece of adaptation. Here, scientists mocked that. Mix and match, bird with fish, drake with dino. As if DNA were Lego bricks. No thought to epochs separated by oceans of time. Birds from Jurassic skies, fish from Devonian seas. Drakes echoing ancient lizards. Dinos thundering Cretaceous plains. Slam them together. Ignite the revival chamber. Out comes life. Twisted, sentient, aware of its wrongness. Trainers capture them, command them. But do they hear the unspoken agony? The quiet whines drowned by battle cries. This approach shattered ethics, long held sacred. From Cinnabar's precise lab to Auberg's museum, revival honoured the dead, restored lineages pure. Gala's dens turned grave robbery into genetic roulette. What drove it? Greed for power, curiosity unchecked, or a deeper hubris, playing God with bones that whispered warnings from the abyss. Hybrids dominate gyms, yet rumours persist. Instability, sudden collapses in wilds, labs hushed it up, but trainers whisper of eyes too knowing, behaviours too desperate. Paleontologists in our world would recoil. Fossils tell stories of survival, not this Frankenstein folly. Pokémon science teetered here. From preservation to perversion, the hybrids endure, icons of a flawed ambition. Strong in stats, weak in soul, their existence questions everything. If we can rebuild the past like this, what boundaries remain? And what price do these abominations pay? Yet the story darkens further, as Galar's experiments echoed into Paldea, where ancient secrets stirred anew. In the coming chapter, the Area Zero anomaly of Generation 9, we'll descend into depths that make these hybrids seem tame. What twisted forms awaited there? Fossils alive with impossible purpose, stay listening, the truth uncoils. Beneath the sun-drenched plains of Paldea, a new scar marks the Earth, Area Zero, a vast crater 5 kilometers wide, hidden at the base of the great crater of Paldea. Scientists call it the Zero Lab's final frontier. Trainers whisper of treasures below, but what rises from its depths defies every fossil we've unearthed before. The journey to Paldea begins in Scarlet and Violet, released in 2022. This 9th generation shifts the world to Iberia-inspired landscapes. Rolling hills, ancient ruins, and at the centre, that impenetrable crater. Access it only after piercing the 4 Titan Pokémon and unravelling the Elite Four's secrets. Area Zero waits, gated by a research station perched on its rim. Elevators descend in stages, each level deeper, darker. Until bedrock yields something alive, traditional fossils, we've chased them across regions, dome, helix, root, skull, revived through labs and museums. DNA from stone, pieced into creatures extinct for eons. Cabotops scuttles from Cambrian echoes. Rampardos charges from Cretaceous bone. Hybrids like Dracovish stumble from Gala's mishmash sins. Science resurrects the dead. Predictable, historical. But Area Zero births paradox Pokémon. Not fossils in the classic sense. No amber casings, no dig sites with picks and shovels. These emerge whole, pristine, as if time itself cracked open. Professor Sada and Professor Turo, locked in their obsessions, unlocked the gate. Sada sought the ancient past. Turo chased the future. Their machines tore rifts in reality, and through them poured these anomalies. Take Great Tusk, a hulking beast, tusked and armoured like a Donphan warped by primordial fury. Pokédex claims it appeared 100 million years ago, or was it more? No fossil preceded it. No lab revived it. It rampaged from the crater's depths, shrugging off ultra beasts and titans alike, sandy shocks, and magnetised magnemite from eons past. Raging Bolt, a lightning-clad Okidogi ancestor. Iron treads, treading where no Donphan ever rolled. Iron hands, fists like eternal Hariyama. Iron thorns, thorns sharper than Tyranitar's hide. Iron Valiant, a blade-wielding paradox of Galladay and Gardevoir. These past paradoxes dwarf their modern kin. Fiercer, larger. Built for a world before history settled. But here's the fracture. Traditional fossils match our timeline. Trilobites from 500 million years back. Pachycephalosaurs from 66 million. Revived, they fit neatly into Pokédex eras. Great Tusk does not. Its plates gleam unnatural. Its roars echo with distortion. Witnesses describe a shimmer around them, like heat haze from another age. Area Zero's anomaly runs deeper. The crater formed from a meteor strike, some say. Others point to terrestrial energy, crystals pulsing with otherworldly power. Terra types twist Pokémon into rainbow prisms. But below, time unravels. Black terror crystals line the walls. Elevators hum with forbidden frequencies. At the core, the Zero Gate, a colossal device humming with paradox energy. It spits future forms too. Iron leaves, slicing like Veritzian reborn. Iron boulder, rolling like Terrakian remade. Iron crown, crowned like crowned sword. Distinguish this from fossils sharply. Fossils are echoes, fragmented and rebuilt. Paradox Pokémon arrive intact. Sentient, aggressive. They don't revive, they invade. Sada's logs, fragmented in the game's data, hint at a simulation gone wrong. Turo's AI counterpart speaks of black holes in time. Were these pulled from parallel pasts, alternate timelines where extinction never claimed them? Or did Area Zero birth them anew, rewriting history with every emergence? Consider Roaring Moon, Salamance's savage progenitor. Wings like jagged obsidian, jaws that crunch steel. It nests in the deepest labs, guarding crystals that pulse with forbidden light. No fossil bed holds its kin, no dig yielded its scale. Yet it hunts, as if Paldea stole its world. Walking Wake slithers from Suicune's nightmare lineage, gouging fire claws like Entei unchained. These past forms challenge our nostalgia. Pokémon was safe once, creatures from cartoons, friends in battles. Now, they claw from temporal wounds, eyes burning with displacement. The quiet unease builds here. Trainers descend those elevators, hearts pounding. Friends fall to paradox assaults. The crater's air thickens with ozone and ancient musk. What if Great Tusk isn't extinct? What if it's fleeing something worse? A predator from before the Cambrian? Or a warning from time's frayed edge? Science in Paldea doesn't resurrect, it summons. And the summons fight back. Speculation swirls among fans and lore hunters. Area Zero as a singularity. A point where terrestrial phenomena meets temporal flux. The professor's quests converge there by design or doom. Sada, obsessed with raw power. Turo, chasing endless futures. Their daughter AI peering through veils. Did they punch through to the Pokémon multiverse? Evidence mounts. In Scarlet and Violet's epilogue. The Indigo Disc DLC reveals more gates, more rifts. Future paradoxes like Iron Moth and Iron Juculus swarm Blueberry Academy's underbelly. The anomaly spreads. Yet no revival lab stands in Area Zero. No Caralis to botch the mix. Just raw emergence. Creatures like Screamtail, a Jigglypuff feralized by lost eras. Fluttermane, spectral Mistravus glow. Brute Bonnet, mushroomed Amoongus Titan. Slitherwing, Volcarona's larval fury. Sandy Shocks disrupts compasses. They roam the crater's biomes, clashing with legendaries like Koraidon and Miraidon. The paradox bikes themselves, warped by the rift. This shifts the law's foundation. Fossils were triumphs of human ingenuity, reviving the dead to fight anew. Paradox. Pokémon expose fragility. Time isn't linear in Pokémon's world. It's a web, torn by ambition. A Great Tusk charges not from history books, but from anomalies we can't map. What era does it truly hail from? 100 million years? Or beyond, where continents hadn't formed? Paldea's winds carry rumours. Locals avoid the crater's shadow. Trainers who return speak little. Their teams scarred by unseen forces. Area Zero pulses, waiting, emitting signals that scramble Pokédex scans. A beacon, perhaps, calling more through the veil. The mystery compounds, traditional fossils grounded us in wonder. Hybrids warned of hubris. Now paradoxes question reality. Are they invaders, refugees, or harbingers of a timeline collapse? To piece it all together, from Kanto's first digs to Paldea's rifts, demands a full reckoning. Up next, the complete timeline reveals every fracture, every revival, and the hidden threads binding them across generations. What order emerges when every anomaly aligns? Stay listening. The truth assembles. From the shadow depths of Area Zero, where paradox Pokémon blur the line between yesterday and tomorrow, emerges a thread that ties every fossil unearthed across the Pokémon world. This is the complete timeline of paleontology's boldest ambition, a chronicle etched in stone and amber, spanning eons from the Cambrian explosion to futures yet unwritten. It begins in Kanto 1996, the dawn of revival. Mist Moon yields the first prizes, Dome Fossil and Helix Fossil. Cinnabar Island's lab pulses with wonder. A scientist in a white coat presses a button. Kabuto hatches from Dome, its trilobite shell gleaming. A survivor from 540 million years ago, the Cambrian seas. Omanite spirals from Helix. Ammonite curves sharp as Devonian predators, 409 million years, compressed into a level 5 swirl. Old amber cracks open to aerodactyl. Pterosaur wings unfurling, 66 million years of sky reclaimed. Pure magic, they called it. Children traded fossils like treasures. No one questioned the ethics. Life from death felt right. Giotto, 1999, pauses the dig. No new bones. Ancient power moves hint at relics, but revival waits. Trades from Kanto keep the spark alive. The world breathes, grows nostalgic. Hoenn erupts in 2002. Devon Corporation Labs in Slateport and Rustborough hum. Root fossil births Lileep. Crinoid tendrils from 400 million years past. Devonian forests undersea. Claw fossil cracks to Anorith. Anomalocaris claws from 500 million years ago. Cambrian hunter reborn as Armaldo. Kanto fossils level up here, stronger, fiercer. Excitement builds. Fossils become regional pride. Sinnoh 2006 unearths dinosaurs. Auberg Mining Museum revives skull fossil into Cranidos. Pachycephalosaurus domes battering Cretaceous skulls. 70 million years of headbutts. Armor fossil shields Bastiodon. Ceratopsian plates from the same lost age. Underground digs thrill players. 10 years in, Pokémon paleontology claims the giants. Museums fill. Science feels invincible. Unova, 2010. Cover fossil turtles. Tortuga, Triassic Chelly from 230 million years back. Plume fossil plumes arching into Archaeopteryx skies. Jurassic 150 million years aloft. Then the twist. Jaw and sail fossils mix. Dracozolt fuses fish and dino, a bolt of mismatched agony. Dracovish gulps with jaws too vast, lungs failing on land. Hybrids stumble into light, questions whisper. Is this progress? Kalos 2013 trades old reliables. Alola 2016 refines jaw and plume. But Galar 2019 shatters the facade. Fossil dens in the wild area. Caralis and her crew dig wild. Bird, drake, dino, fish parts scrambled into Arctozolt. Dracovish horrors refined. No labs now, just dens of desperation. Creatures lurch, breathe wrong, swim in air, ethical lines blur. Brazen cheers the chaos. Galar's blunder exposes the rot. Revival was never pure. Paldea, 2022, descends to Area 0. Fossils tie to paradoxes. Past variants roar from ancient rifts. Roaring screamtail, brutal sandy shocks. Future forms glitch from tomorrow. Slithering iron treads. Buzzing iron moth, not revived, emerged. Time fractures. Fossils whisper the cause. 500 million years to tomorrow's edge, all converging. Trace the arc. Cinnabar's lab glowed with childlike awe. 4 fossils, clean births. Hoenn and Sinnoh celebrated diversity. Cambrian to Cretaceous. Unova dared hybrids, birthed unease. Galar revelled in monstrosities, science unmoored. Paldea questions reality itself. What started as wonder sours to hubris. Reviving the dead demands a cost. Kabuto scuttles free. Dracovish wheezes. Paradoxes warp time. Ethics erode with each dig. Yet a theory lingers, unspoken in Pokédex logs. Fossils aren't mere DNA. They're anchors. Cambrian Omanita holds the explosion of life. Aerodactyl guards extinction's sky. Paradoxes suggest a cycle breaking. Area Zero's crater hides a truth. Every revival tugs the timeline. Pull too hard, and past floods future. Gala's dens weaken the veil. Paldea's anomaly rips it. Paleontologists chase glory, but the Earth remembers. Fossils demand balance. In this evolving world, where Pokémon leap from grass and gyms echo cheers, the past endures. Reviving it captivates. Omanite's spiral hooks the soul. Rampardos charges nostalgia. Even Dracovish, in its misery, reminds us, life persists, twisted or true. The timeline stretches from primordial ooze to temporal paradoxes. What endures is the pull, to unearth, to awaken, to wonder, quietly, if some stones should stay buried. And in that tension, Pokémon paleontology lives forever. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.